How's it going, guys? Welcome to the channel. This is my 2013 Ford F150 EcoBoost. If you guys haven't seen already, I did a full rebuild on this. It's finally complete. It's finally all one color. But now that it's finally done, we're going to be doing some mods today. This truck is basically stock besides the air raid intake that I installed, I think, in the first video of rebuilding this. So other than that, there's really no other mods. The exhaust is completely stock cats, stock muffler, everything in the back. Today I picked up something special for a steal of a deal. I actually bought this from Walmart, not affiliated with this company or anything at all. The brand is called Maximizer HP. It actually comes with a warranty, which that's pretty crazy. And this is a catless downpipe. These are actually resonators. They're completely straight through. See if I can get a shot from the inside here. Completely straight. They're just little resonators. They go from 2.5 to 3 inches all the way back. I believe the stock one is actually 2.5 all the way back until it wise into a 3. A little bit bigger diameter there. Obviously no cats, so we're gonna have a lot better flow. And then again, no affiliation with this company at all. I think I bought it for like $180 on Walmart, and it was like $60 shipping. So I was like, might as well do this because I can sell the cats by themselves more for that. So I'm actually making money by doing this performance mod right here, and we'll get some performance gains out of it as well. We got some clamps and everything right here. The tubing on this does seem pretty thin. I've had experiences with exhausts like this cracking at the hangers because the piping is so thin. Luckily, there's no actual hangers on here besides on the clamp. So we shouldn't have any cracking on this exhaust. It is a downpipe, so it's gonna experience a lot more heat, not as much as if it had cats in it though. Another thing that I'm doing, and if you guys are doing this mod that you should do, a vacuum seal kit right here. This is no affiliation with this company either. I think it's about 30 bucks on Amazon. I noticed that I was getting some oil coming down. I originally thought it was the valve covers, which they were leaking. Replaced that and I was still getting kind of an oil smell. Wasn't as bad. So I think the valve covers were leaking, like I said. After doing some research and looking back there, I could see on the passenger head, it is leaking on the exhaust, which is making that burning oil smell in the cabin. So before I go ahead and start ripping out the old exhaust, I want to get a sound test before and after, just free revving and then under load. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So not too much turbo noises coming out of this stock F150 exhaust. You get a little bit of turbo noise under load and a little bit of blow off valve noise. That is from the vent to atmosphere mod that I did. All the vent to atmosphere mod is just disconnecting the hose to the electronic blow off valve and then plugging it. And that makes that kind of whoosh noise whenever you let off the throttle. Otherwise, when it's just free revving at a standstill or just idling, you really don't hear any turbo whistle whatsoever. And the biggest reason for that, I think, is the stock cats. You can actually see when it was sitting here for about 30 minutes when I parked it, it's already leaking some oil. The vacuum pump seal is going bad on this thing very, very fast. So as for how much power we're gonna get out of these, a lot of people say about 20 horsepower, but when it comes to downpipes, it's not really about peak horsepower. So with my experience in my BMW 335i, when I put downpipes on it, I didn't notice a huge increase in peak power, I guess what I'm saying. But what I did notice was a lot more power in the lower RPMs. I'm not sure when max boost hits on this F150, but as I mentioned on my 335i, I did get about 1,000 RPM increase from when the max boost hits. This truck is my work truck and I do tow with it. So the more boost I can get down low, the better. Hopefully we make max boost about 1,000 RPMs quicker like the 335i, and hopefully get an increase of 20 peak horsepower like a lot of people are claiming with these downpipes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get the truck jacked up and get the old downpipe out. Ball for moose. That's probably out of the frame. He'll find it. There he is. Good boy, Moose. All right, back to this thing. All right, what we need to get to is the vacuum pump, and you can identify it by this hose right here. This is a vacuum line, runs to the back right here, and it will connect right up top right here. It just uses one of these fuel line connectors. So I'll come from the top and remove that. What people typically do to remove the vacuum pump, because it's so close to the firewall, you can't really get it from the top, but they'll remove this fender liner. Now I'm hoping to not remove the fender liner because I have fender flares, and to remove the fender liner now, I had to remove the fender flares, which are kind of a pain to do, and I don't really want to do that. There's a lot of plastic clips that I tend to break whenever I take them off. What I'm hoping is when we take the downpipe off, I have room to come up from the bottom and get to the vacuum pump seals. To get the downpipes out in one piece, we actually had to remove this cross member. It's a brace for the transmission. So let's remove the shield. Now the transmission mount bolts. Before we go taking these out, let's go ahead and get the transmission jacked up just a little bit so it doesn't fall down on us. Okay. Man, these need to be cleaned up. There's a lot of dust on that. Now it's stuck in here, so we just gotta pry it off. There's actually one 10mm bolt up here holding this heat shield in. It's kind of hidden. Looks like that. Now it should come down. Oh, there's another bolt on this side. Another 10mm bolt holding it. There we go. Jeez. All right. These Y pipe bolts look a little bit sketchy. I already sprayed them with some WD-40, so let's see if they come out. Holy crap, that's probably smoking hot. Came out though without stripping. Number 2. And we're good. Wow. Looks like right here we got a couple of hangers that mount to the transmission. I think the only one that we're gonna utilize is this one. We'll see whenever we get the new downpipe fitted up. On our passenger side right here, as you can see the O2 sensor for the upstream. The connector is right there. And the connector for the other one is right there. On the driver's side, the downstream O2 sensor is pretty easy to get to. It is right there. And the upstream one on the driver's side is actually on the top of the engine. It is right there, right by the high pressure fuel pump. So I was able to get all of those disconnected pretty easily on both sides. Now we have some bolts right here. There's one right there, and there's one up at the top. I've already sprayed some WD-40 on them. They've been soaking a little bit. You want to be careful with these because they tend to break all the time. I'm still going to zap them out with the impact. They don't look too bad on this, so I'll go ahead and give that a shot. So I just did the passenger side, and unfortunately the camera wasn't rolling. I was able to get those 2 nuts pretty easily. I would definitely recommend one of these little swivel adapters right here. These are the black ones. These are impact resistant. I also have 2 extensions. I believe they're probably a foot long or so. So we've got 2 foot of extensions. The bottom one here is pretty easy to get. The top one, you actually have to go above the converter. Unfortunately, this angle isn't as good as the other side, but I'll get this one out momentarily. There we go, one rusty nut. This one might be a little bit different because we got a drive shaft in our way. And these are 15s, by the way. Holy crap. That is smoking hot. Ooh, yeah, that's smoking. Well, we got all the bolts besides the mounts here. So we'll go ahead and get those out and pull this downpipe out. What the heck? It's like riveted to the mount. Oh my Ford. Oh shit. Oh. Guys, this video could not go any more wrong. I had the camera set up in the perfect position, got the downpipes out, and somewhere in between there, I got an Amber Alert and it stopped the video. So unfortunately, I didn't get the video of me pulling these out, but they are out. So the transmission mount slash hanger is laying right there. I had to pull that out. There's actually 2 bolts on each side that are 15 millimeters, and that pretty much allowed me to slide this thing out. This thing's probably worth about $1,000. Old Y pipe out, new Y pipe right here. Before we go ahead and assemble and compare the two, I want to go ahead and address the vacuum leak on the back here. So I went ahead and got the vacuum line off and broke this little clip right here. This is like a fuel line clip. You can get these from AutoZone, from really any auto parts store for pretty cheap, but just another thing to look out for when removing this. If you don't have an auto parts store near you, be really careful removing this, because I was very careful and I still broke it. Coming in on the passenger side, you can actually see the vacuum pump right there. So you can see, I believe they're either 8 or 10 millimeter bolts. There's one right there, one slightly above that, and then there's another one on this side. And that assembly should come down after that. Now, like I mentioned, I already got the line removed at the top. There's no other lines or connectors connected to it other than that. No, I just wanted to show the leak here, and it is pretty bad. If you look right there, you can see it's actually leaking on the bell housing coming down here, and it's leaking right here, making me think that it's the oil pan or the rear main seal, but it's actually up there. Now, I don't know if this is residue from the valve cover up here leaking previously, but some of this looks kind of fresh. I think it's coming around this side here as well. So pretty crazy. You can actually see right there, it's still a little bit wet up there, kind of where the head meets the block. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this vacuum pump off. All right, guys, I already cleaned this up just a little bit, but check out this old gasket here, or O-ring. They're just completely hardened to a rock. So that was definitely our leak right there. We could probably just replace that seal and be good, but the kit comes with all these other seals. So we got 4 O-rings that we need to replace. This one is definitely the one that we just took out. That's a crusty one. Time to shoot this thing with some brake clean and try to get this thing cleaned up. This one looks all right, but it does feel a little bit hard. Now we got to take off this back cover, which are a bunch of T25s. Looks like this big seal is one that we replace. All right, so I got everything cleaned up to the best of my ability. Went ahead and got all of the little specks and everything that were in here. I just shot it with some brake clean outside. That is all clean. The cover, all this had just kind of like some seal residue all the way around it. Got that all cleaned up with some brake clean and a nylon brush. Got all the bolts cleaned as well. Before I go ahead and assemble all of this, I want to re-lube all of this and install the oil glider thing, or whatever you call it. So I'm just going to re-oil all of this right here, just for this first startup. Now we'll oil this guy up just a little bit. Right here is all our old seals, but this big one right here is the one we're going to use in the back here. I think I am just put a thin bead of oil around this. Doesn't say to do this in the directions, but just want to make sure this slides in good. Okay. Wipe some of the excess off. Perfect. Just going to put a little bit of oil on the inside right here. Now the directions don't say to do this, but I think it's good to put a little bit of blue thread locker on all these bolts. now, we torque all these down to 7 foot-pounds. This torque wrench is trash. It's not clicking at all. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it by hand. Okay, that's about as tight as they want to go. And the O-ring for this one is the green. Okay, not too tight on that one because it's plastic. This little guy that goes on the top here. Perfect. And I'm not going to oil this one because it does have RTV that goes on top of it. I think it goes in these two areas right here. Don't think there is an up or a down. All right, now this pump is pretty much resealed all the way around. It probably would have been a good idea for the mileage just to go ahead and replace this, but $30 for the seal kit. This isn't super difficult to get out. But before I go ahead and install this, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the mating surface on the head, make sure everything's clean. That way, if this thing is leaking, I can visually tell. All right, so I got this cloth kind of in the same spot that we need it. That way it just lines up perfectly with the cam. We're gonna put the RTV right here and right here, right where this shiny part meets the matted part. So it's gonna be really difficult for me to show you guys putting this in. So I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it in and then try to get the best footage I can. Oh. Holy crap, guys, vacuum pump is finally on. You can see how bad it's leaking all the way up here. It's just so greasy. Almost looks like it's coming from the valve covers, but if you look deep in there, you don't see any oil residue coming down from that, which I did replace those valve covers not too long ago. Everything's torqued down to raw spec because I couldn't put a torque wrench in there. Here are these little clips that you guys need if you do break them. This is actually really expensive. These are like $13 at AutoZone. Part number right there from Dorman. If you are doing this job, make sure to go ahead and order these ahead of time and try to get a better deal on them. Because if you do have to run to an auto parts store, they're gonna charge you an arm and a leg for these little plastic clips. Oh. A little bit of anti-seize. Oh. Oh, there we go. Okay. All the O2 sensors are in. I'm just gonna loosely assemble this thing. See the differences between the stock exhaust to this aftermarket one. First is gonna be the diameter of the piping here. So this should be stock here, which I believe is 2.5. Yep, that is 2.5. That is the same. Now this is 2.5 outer diameter piping all the way until it meets right here, which is 3 inches. This actually goes to 3 inches right here. So there's 3 and there's 3, then it wides into 3. So a lot more flow in this area, especially where the cat is. Get a ton more flow with this exhaust. As for fitment, we're gonna have to see how it bolts up because it merges a little bit farther back than it would up here. Instead of this pipe immediately going in here, it kind of wides into, which it could be better flow with that. We'll see. Visually, it looks like it would have better flow than this anyways, just wind down here instead of merging into this one and going straight down. In terms of thickness, this is about 0.3 millimeters thicker than this piping. So we're getting a little bit of weight savings, but at the same time, for a Y pipe that goes straight off the turbos where it's gonna get hot, I would honestly prefer the stock piping being a little bit thicker, but we'll see. As long as it doesn't crack, as long as none of the welds break or anything, I think it will be just fine. So another thing I wanted to mention was the position of the O2 sensors. This one seems to be okay. It's not exactly in the same spot, but I don't think that will cause an issue. This one's lower than the cat, so shouldn't be an issue as long as they don't hit the frame on the down upstreams. But the weird one here is this one. So this one actually bolts on the stock right here. This one is about a 90-degree difference. So hopefully that's not an issue. If it is, that's going to be a problem. Just thought I'd mention that in case we have any fitment issues with the O2 sensors, but let's go ahead and install this thing. I'm gonna put some of this copper sealant on all of these flanges because with my experience with aftermarket exhaust, it never seemed to fit that well. All right, hopefully this fits. Get this other pipe on. Oh yeah. Well guys, I can safely say that these downpipes made a hell of a difference. Not only do you hear the turbo whistle a lot more, but the throttle response has increased dramatically and the truck just rolls through the gears now. As for the top end power, I didn't see much gains there because we're maxed out at the stock boost pressure, but with a tune you can easily fix that. To add even more turbo whistle, I think the best way to do that is to add a custom tune, increase the boost pressure, and that's going to increase your turbo whistle. But anyways, I can't recommend these enough. I'll leave the link in the description down below. That way if you guys are interested in these, you can go ahead and pick them up for yourselves. In the next video, we're doing another performance modification to this F150, and it also has to do something with performance and sound, but mostly sound. So with all that being said, make sure to leave a like and comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next F150 video.